Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for Conversations with Go On Girl. I'm Linda Johnson, co-founder and president of Go On Girl Book Club. 2021 marks our 30th year as an organization who reads and supports authors from the African diaspora. These series of conversations with authors and people in the book publishing industry, from editors to Black booksellers, are created to connect us all to the inner workings of book publishing. Go On Girl Book Club is a literary sisterhood of dedicated book-loving and reading women in 51 chapters, in 16 states and 40 cities across the country, who read a variety of genres written by Black authors. Today, Daphne Pierre is in conversation with witty and forthright Luvvie Ajayi, I want to make sure I say it right, Jones, author of the new book, Professional Troublemaker, The Fear Fighter Manual. I will now turn it over to Daphne.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you. I'd love to introduce you to Luvvie Ajayi Jones, New York Times bestseller, author of I'm Judging You, The Do Better Manual, and now Professional Troublemaker, The Fear Fighter Manual. Luvvie also is a speaker on TED Talk, Get Comfortable Being Uncomfortable, as well as she has a podcast called Professional Troublemaker and previous podcast called Jesus in Jollof. Additionally, she owns her own social platform, Love Nation, and she's also part of Oprah's Super Soul 100 list. Welcome, Luvvie.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I am so honored to have you today that I need to actually reintroduce you the Yoruba way, which is with your own oriki. So I worked on this.
Okay.
For those who don't know what an oriki is, it is a Yoruba word that combines two words to mean praising your head and your mind, a greeting that praises you through praising your kinship and speaking life to your destiny. All right. So as an honor to you for joining us today, I worked on this. Forgive me. Don't hold it against me if you don't like it. I tried. Okay. But I like the idea. So your oriki goes like this. Granddaughter of Olufunmilayo Juliana Faloye of House Jones, red-lipped side-eye sorceress, teller of truth, the LeBron James of the shoe game, jollof rice connoisseur, Niger jollof connoisseur, Yoruba ancestors' dream, and beloved useless goat amongst her peers.
Oh, that's so dope.
In addition to that, disruptor of all things traditional and headmistress of the Do Better Academy.
Come on. Let people know. I'm here for that. Thank you. I love that.
So I first of all wanted to say again, thank you for coming. I appreciate you sharing the culture unapologetically in all that you do, in your TED Talks, in your podcasts, in your blogs, in your book. So professional, we should just jump right into it. So your current book, Professional Troublemaker, The Fear Fighter Manual. For those who have not picked up this book yet, I'm going to tell you now, this is a book for every graduate of high school, graduate college, grad school, getting married, getting a new job, all of it. It's such an amazing book. And basically, it's Luvvie telling you how to get your life all the way together unapologetically and being fearless in it. So let's jump right into it. What made you come up with this specific book?
Yeah, no, I decided to write the Fear Fighter Manual. Honestly, my TED Talk is what spurred it, because when Get Comfortable with Being Uncomfortable dropped in December 2017, it had 1 million views in 1 month. And I started getting notes from people all over the world every single day who were like, I listened to your TED Talk and it really lit a fire under me. And I have let fear stop me from doing what I felt like doing. And it made me do something different. So when I was supposed to be writing book 2, I was like, what is this thing? And it was right in front of me the whole time. The reason why my TED Talk was significant was because I almost didn't do it because of my own fear of not being ready to do it. And I pushed past it anyway, as one of my friends told me, like, you have no other choice, you got to do this. And I did it, and it transformed my life personally and professionally. And I really felt convicted, like, what if I didn't do it? What if I had said no to this thing that could really change the game for me? How often have we moved through life doing that? So that's what I wanted to write about. That's what I wanted to put on paper, because I wanted to write the book that I needed when I was afraid to do that TED Talk and didn't think I was qualified. The book that I needed when I was afraid to call myself a writer. I like to create work that solves a problem for me or makes me feel like it's necessary. So I know if it's necessary for me, other people will find value in it. So that's why I wrote Professional Troublemaker.
Listen, I have been talking about this book to everybody I meet, from colleagues, especially whenever they, at my job, I'm like the mama of all things. And whenever I get a complaint or something that somebody's nervous about, I'm like, you need to read this book. If you don't have time to read the book, listen to the podcast. But it's interesting because when I read this book, and you pretty much line it out, what you're supposed to say, how you're supposed to say it, how you're supposed to do it, how you're supposed to move. You almost come off as an expert in being fearless and just doing what you have to do and being a disruptor as a professional. What makes you the expert, if you will? Like, what made you have that audacity to just write it? Was there any, outside of just the TED Talk, were there any professional examples that you might have experienced or other people that said, you know what, I need to put this out there?
What's interesting is I don't consider myself an expert. I consider myself a guide, because I think it's important that the things that we learn, we share. And throughout the book, I even talk about like how I wrote the book for myself, because there are moments where I'm still afraid, where I push myself past it anyway. And I think it's because my life keeps bringing things that challenge me, and me having to like rise up to it, and committing myself to choosing courage every single day. And it's something that is a habit that we can always start. And it's a habit that we can always continue. And I think for me professionally, my journey has been all these moments where I wasn't sure how something was going to turn out. And I said yes anyway. And I did it. And it ended up rewarding me. So I think I'm very experienced in being afraid. I'm very experienced in doing the thing anyway. And I wanted to really kind of show people that it's not just a personality trait of boldness. It's a decision that can be made every day.
Nice. Well, I'm going to take it back a little bit from your history. So you originally wanted to be a doctor, like most of us who come from, so for those who don't know, you should, Luvvie is Nigerian. Now, also first generation, well, no, you came over here, right, when you were a young
Correct.
child, yeah?
Yep.
So if you are African, West Indian, probably even Asian, you are born already with your career set for you. You are told to be a doctor, engineer, lawyer, or what's the other one? That's it, right? Pretty much.
That's
so.
So
same. So you were supposed to be a doctor. You went to school. You went to college, pre-med, and got your first B.
Yep.
Tell everybody about that story and what made you change into a different major.
Listen, this doctor dream, to your point, like immigrants, they love putting the doctors and lawyer dream on us. And then you end up taking it on and thinking it's your dream, and it's really not. So yeah, when I started college and I took Chemistry 101 and I got that D, I instantly dropped my major, my pre-med major. I think for me, it was because I was very clear that this was not for me. It gave me such urgency to be like pivot. And that semester I started blogging, and that's how I got into writing. I didn't realize I was starting a new career. I just thought it was just a hobby that I had. But it was a blessing because the D was a failure that was necessary to pivot me away from that direction that I was not supposed to go, because I'd be the worst doctor ever. So that's how I started writing outside of the classroom. And it stuck with me. When I graduated with my degree in psychology and I got a marketing job, I still was blogging. And I never stopped. and it basically got me into rooms and got me a book deal. And it's a Cliff Notes version of the journey. But honestly, that blog that I first had in 2003, 18 years ago, was a game changer that I didn't see coming.
Well, I love that. So thank you to that professor for giving you that grade, because if it wasn't for it, right?
Yes.
But, so you talk about something in your book. In the earlier chapter, you talk about dreaming audaciously, right? Basically how to just dreaming big and really reaching for the stars, if you will. Now, I find that culturally, especially like where our careers are already ordained for us when we're born, our parents don't necessarily understand when we say we want to be a writer, we want to be a dancer, we want to be, anything but what they've wanted for us. How did you navigate through that? Because you've now chosen, I'm going to be a writer, right? You didn't become a doctor. How did your family now accept you on a creative front and saying, I'm going to choose this as a career?
So when I dropped the pre-med major, I actually didn't tell my family. They found out at graduation. I was like, hey, I finished college in 4 years. You guys are welcome. I ain't get in trouble. You're welcome. And it's interesting, my family didn't even trip. And I think it's because like my mom has always trusted me with myself, especially after I got into college, like where I basically was an adult at that point. I didn't mess up, without even being under her supervision. So I think she kind of was just like, all right, she's always had a pretty good head on her shoulders, so I ain't gonna give her nothing crazy for this. And I think it's also because I had proven myself to be somebody who was just deeply responsible as a person. Like I was the kid, I didn't get in trouble. Nobody called home and said I messed up at school. I was pretty good. So by the time I made that switch, I think I built up enough cachet with my family for them to know that like, I'm not irresponsible. And I also won't do what I don't feel like doing. They also know I am very much headstrong. So I think my mom realized it would be a futile attempt to try to insist that I be a doctor. Right. So she didn't even do it. So I just kept it moving.
Awesome. Let's talk about being too much. So in the book, you talk about don't dim your light, right? Whatever you are too much of, you need to exploit that. What do you think you're too much of?
Oh, I talk too much. That's what I used to get in trouble for when I was little, having a mouth, because I would definitely say something about something I don't like. And I often think that, when we are little, if we listen to people enough, we'll stop being that thing that they accuse of us of being too much of. Like we might get more quiet, but I never stopped. So, and I think that really allowed me to be who I am now. Not stopping being too much allowed me to be a really, really good communicator. I'm really good with my words. And now that's what pays me. How many times is the thing that people say we are too much of left behind? If we're too thoughtful or too sensitive, maybe we'd be great therapists, So yeah, I use my words too much, but it pays off for me.
Nice. So your advice would be whatever you're too much of, nourish it, not to dim it.
Nourish it, as long as it's not harming other people and harming your personal growth, nourish it. Find a way to harness it for your good, for other people's good. Find a way to use it in service of others.
Nice. And then you talked about owning your dopeness. Now, this chapter for me was, I think, something that a lot of people should really study, right? You talk about just recognizing who you are, and society tends to make you feel like if you're confident, you're arrogant, right? So what would you advise on someone and how to be more boastful and how to promote themselves more? Like, what is that like for you?
Yeah, I think it's important for people to know that humility is not you diminishing your qualities and your gifts and your talents. Humility is knowing that you are gifted, knowing that you are a legacy of amazing people, mentors, family members who helped pave the way for you. I think humility comes in understanding that we are who we are because of the work of others and because of our own work. But that won't mean humility means you saying, I'm just okay at this thing. No, like I need us to be able to say, I am great at this particular thing. I am confident about this work. I have this gift. Double down on that, because when we are afraid to tell people what our gifts are, when we are afraid to own everything about ourselves that's amazing, we sell ourselves short, and then people sell us short in turn. So one of my biggest tips is just objectively, what have people say you are good at? Even if you don't trust yourself, trust what other people have said that doubles down on your dopeness. So if everybody's always like, oh my God, you can dress, and you're like, I mean, I guess I'm okay. No. If enough people have said it, you should believe them. So first, we should actually trust ourselves. That's the first most important piece. But in the moments when we don't trust ourselves, we can look to others to affirm us. And when they affirm us, let's believe it. So oftentimes somebody will say like, oh my God, you look amazing today. And you're like, girl, no, I have black eyes. It's like, why did we negate the compliment? What do we think that is in service of? How does that benefit anybody, including us? Right. When we reduce our impact, when we turn a compliment back and don't receive it with grace and say thank you. So yeah, I just want us to be less shy about being like, yes, I'm a really good writer. I'm a really good speaker. I can really touch people's hearts and minds with my words. Me being able to say that does not mean I'm not humble, but it also doesn't mean that I am somehow diminishing other people in the process.
Right. That part. Yeah, I know for me that's actually one of the things that spoke to me, because throughout life, especially with those, when you have a history of people who are always putting you down, and then when you finally do get those accolades or affirming you, you're already conditioned, right, to not be able to accept a compliment or to really be confident in yourself. Right. Do you practice like affirmations or anything like that helps you out? Like, what's your process?
Yeah, I sometimes will put notepads, Post-it notes. I actually have one on my desk right now that I'll put at the bottom of my computer. It can change week by week depending on what I want to kind of like see that week. Anything that you need, anything that you are struggling with, write it down in a positive way and put it somewhere where your eyes will at least look to at least once a day. So that could be, I am qualified for that job. It could be, I am worthy of love. It could be, I will own my full dopeness. Whatever that thing is that you need to see, that you need to convince yourself of, write it down, look at it over and over again. So hopefully your brain is doing the work even while you're not realizing you're doing it.
Right. So speaking of that, you've juggled a lot of things. You're a best-selling author. You have a nonprofit organization that you run. You have the social platform. You do TED Talks. How do you, and I'm going to say it as best as possible, how do you focus on your focus?
How do I focus? The art of multitasking is unreal. It's not real. So the times when I am most productive is when I say, okay, for the next hour, I'm going to work on that talk I'm going to give. And for that hour, I focus on that. And then hour after that, I can focus on something else. I think what I do is to-do lists save my life. And then I double down on focusing in small chunks of time. So I can split my day into 5 different chunks. But in each one, I do best when I focus on one thing. The times when I am unproductive is when I'm like, oh, I'm gonna check email while I'm doing this thing. Oh, I should call somebody. And I'm like squirreling. And then the day ends and I go, I didn't even get nothing on my to-do list done. So I usually have to like write it down. I have my project planner. I start the day, write down everything I need to get done. Whether or not I get the to-do list done during that day, it's not as likely, but I love seeing that I'm scratching things off. So yeah, to-do list, actually focusing, and getting it done, doing the work.
Nice. Now, also, you talked about building your squad. So that goes, I think that'll probably go two ways. When you say you're building your squad, is the building of the squad for you to have like that personal cheerleading corner, or is it more about just like the actual network and helping you achieve your goals? And also, part B to that question is, who's in your squad?
Yeah, I think building a squad is just being intentional about building community. I said the other day that it's important to build community before you need it. You know, don't go looking for friends when you need a shoulder to lean on.
Mm-hmm.
Have that network already in place. Don't go asking for favors from a person you've never spoken to. You know, don't ask somebody who is not a mentor, or at least has access to you, to help you get a different job because they can't vouch for you. So building a squad just looks like, how am I cultivating an authentic tribe around me, you know, from all facets of life? And I think having people in place is also kind of like you're creating a soft place for you to land, no matter what you're going through. If you need a new job, if you have a strong professional network, you'll get one. You know, if you're going through something tough, your friends will show up for you.
Right.
You know, and I think that's really important for people to kind of spend time in, because part of fear fighting looks like sometimes looking to others to help you fight the fear. Sometimes you need to call your friend to say, should I ask for this raise? Like, I'm a little bit afraid of it. And then your friend gets to say, yes, you got this. And then you get off the phone and be like, all right. That's the importance. Like, day by day, our networks really do loan us courage. And that's part of the reason why I wrote this book, is I wanted this book to be the thing that is telling you, you got this. When you're like, should I ask for this raise? Oh God, I'm not sure. You know, so yeah, build that squad before you need it.
I definitely attest to that. That's one of my pet peeves when somebody reaches out to me and I haven't spoken to them in like 6 months because they're looking for something. I'll do it, but I'm gonna definitely shade you for it, because
but see, here's the thing.
Horrible.
I don't do it. If I don't feel like I can do it authentically for you, I'm not gonna do it. And I think that's also important, is to honor the fact that you don't owe somebody who you don't feel like you're in community with a favor.
True.
You know, like, and if it's especially a favor that includes what feels like vouching, like I'm really specific about what I vouch for, who I say I'm going to put my name on the line for. So I'll say no, I can't do that, because if it goes wrong or you somehow come incorrect for this opportunity, my judgment is going to be called to question. So I want us to also not feel guilty about saying no to people who ask us favors if we don't trust that they will use the opportunity properly.
Right. That's some great advice. Absolutely. I mean, I'm working on that. But shifting gears, we were talking about the squad building and community. So who do you lean on now? Who are some of the people that you lean on to uplift you and be your cheerleaders?
Man, one of my best friends is Bozoma St. John.
Oh, yes.
CMO at Netflix. We lean on each other all the time, personally and professionally, because we know we're each other's safe space. We know we trust each other's judgment. We can vouch for each other, which we often do. And there are a lot of times where we will even go to something because the other person is going. Are you going to that? Because I wasn't going to go. Yeah, I was going to go. Okay, fine. I guess I'll go now. Like, it allows us to always be surrounded by people who we know and we trust. And I think it's really important to be able to have friends who you can lean on in that way. Like, Bose is not just my friend. She's my mentor. She, at some points, I feel like she's my colleague, because we do a lot of we'll do a lot of Q&As together. And I think that's really clutch to have. We'll travel together. So yeah, I have a bunch of people, just, you know, like I have a lot of people who I really just know that I can go to them with my questions, go to them with my fears, with my insecurities, and they will try to help me see through it.
Nice. And you're blessed, because not a lot of people can say that they have that. I know that's extremely important. Just wanted to circle back a little bit, because I know your grandmother had a lot of influence on you. You even called her your matron saint, which I love because I have that same relationship with my grandmother when she passed. What do you think she would say to you now? Like seeing you in all your glory and all your success, like what do you think she'd say?
She would be so proud. My grandmother would have made herself the biggest PR person for this book. Like she would have taken this book in her bag everywhere. Everywhere, and would show it to everybody she talks to, and would open the page to the one that has her picture on it. She would absolutely be proud. And I think I'm really proud that this is the way that I can continue her legacy. Sunday was 10 years of her passing. So this book coming out this year also feels like kismet. It feels very right because it is the best type of tribute for her to really honor her life in this way. And now so many more people know her name. Like her name rings through the world in all these different copies, these tens of thousands of copies that have been sold. And I think, I think about that movie Coco that says you never die unless somebody forgets your name.
Right.
So she'll never die.
No, she will not. And I laugh because the two stories you told about her, one with her being the prophetess in church, and she was doing the whole dance, right?
Yes.
And then the time when she was visited and she was upset with your mom, it was like she's getting on a bus, she's leaving.
She was so dramatic. Like so dramatic for no reason. And it was so entertaining. Like we laugh about it now all the time. Her random stories. My grandmother was so dramatic. I think older Black women are some of the funniest people on the face of the earth. They don't even try to be funny. No. And they just are. I'm looking forward to being that because full theatrics, full do you know who I am energy. And I think it's dope. That energy is amazing. I don't think we have to wait till we're 65 to have that energy. We can have it now. Like, you know who I am? Like, come on. When you walk in a room, you like, I am going to be demanding respect, Yes. So especially in a world that does not always honor us, it is really important for us to walk with some of that old Nigerian woman swag that's like, you can't tell me I don't belong here. You can't tell me I'm not amazing. You can't tell me after I've been through all these things in life. Oh, please. I can talk to anybody. Right. I think we can borrow some of that energy now.
Mm-hmm. No, you're absolutely right. That's why when I do run across older Black women, I love to sit at their feet just to pull from that energy. They're just amazing women. It's 4:30, so I just want to check in on your jollof level. How is that right now?
My jollof levels are good. My jollof levels, important things, priority. Yes, I appreciate that.
You gotta prioritize. You gotta make sure you're good, because I would stop for you to make sure you get your jollof break.
I appreciate that. That is important.
So that was actually my segue into the Jollof, Jesus and Jollof podcast.
Yes.
I have to say, you and Yvette, or G, for those Yvonne or G, it was literally, I just love listening because it's like being a fly on the wall in a room with two people, just having a good old time. I forget it's a podcast.
Yes.
So what made you guys decide to just do that? I mean,
we were honestly like our friend Elaine Walteroth. One day we were all together at Bose's house and me and Yvonne started going at it about something random. And she was like, you guys need a podcast. And we were like, oh, okay. And I think 3 days later or a month later, we went and recorded the first episode. We didn't drop it for another 4 months, but that's how we started because that's how we operate when we're together. That is exactly what you guys are hearing on Jesus and Jollof is exactly how it goes down. And we just letting y'all record it. So, yeah.
Oh my God, it's so entertaining. But also you guys drop a lot of gems, just words of wisdom that are just, I don't know, you guys are just a great source of, like, you both, Yvonne, like, I think there should be like a panel, right? Like you guys should just all be on a panel once a week where people could just go and just sit at your feet and just listen to all you have to say. I mean, the amount of wisdom you guys have for such young women, for me, is just phenomenal. And it's, I mean, you're like you're what every Black woman should actually have as like mentors. Like we all say Michelle Obama's, and which of course she's amazing, and Beyonce's, but then your name should also ring true as well in those same spaces, not just Oprah and those, but you guys I think are also at that level. So thank you for sharing that with us. Absolutely, absolutely. I think it's phenomenal. So what projects are you working on now?
I'm still reveling in the success of Professional Troublemaker. It just came out 2.5 months ago. So I'm kind of like, I don't want to rush past it and be like on to the next, because my goodness, we do that often where we just go, okay, gotta do the next thing. And I'm right now kind of slowing down to be like, okay, how do I want to spend my next year? What do I want to do after this book? How do I want to have this book continue make an impact? You know, so I'm working on a companion piece to the book. I'm working on a book publishing course because I know the whole business of publishing. I know how to write. I know how to market, you know, so I'm working on that. But honestly, it's all surrounding the book. There's so many more people who want to get their stories out there, or who have books that are sitting in their heads and they don't know how to get it from head to print. So I actually want to help demystify that. I want people to be like, oh, I could do that too. Because those of us who write books, we just happen to get some cheat codes. So I want to pass those on.
I like that. I like that. I just want to circle back real quick. There was something that I wanted to ask in respect to culture, right? You talked about having that squad, but yet culturally we're told trust no one. How do you try to, how do you bridge the two? Like being taught that to trust no one, don't share your success, don't talk about what you're doing. People are gonna, you know, put shade on your game or whatever. And then, but also so you're supposed to be leaning on a squad, if you will. How do you manage to bridge the two? If any, if there's one.
When we operate through the trust no one mantra, we get nowhere we need to go. I firmly believe that. Yeah, we've been told don't trust anybody, but one thing people have to understand is the people who made it, who look like they've made it, or who've elevated, who've leveled up in some way, whose careers are amazing, none of them did it by themselves. None of them did it purely on the merits of their hard work. I don't care if you are the hardest working person in the world. If you don't have the right network, you won't get that job, because the world is not a meritocracy. It's definitely some nepotism in there, but even beyond that, the idea that we can trust no one can cause like debilitating pressure that you put on yourself. You take all your fails as your fault. You think, oh my God, I didn't get the job because I wasn't good enough. Meanwhile, it's because the person who got the job was a cousin of the interviewer. Right. So we have to, even though it's risky, I think it's riskier to trust no one than it is to trust some. Now, it's not saying you go around and everybody's your friend and everybody's your mentor and you tell everybody you're everything. But if you can find 4 to 5 people across multiple areas of your life who you can go to as checkpoints, some you'll go to about work, some you'll go to about personal stuff, some you'll go to about both. But trust no one is a quick way to end up running on a hamster wheel, wondering why you're getting nowhere. So no empires of one are built. Nobody who was wealthy became wealthy because it was just them working. If you are running a business, for example, where you are the only employee, you don't have any contractors, you have a fine limit on how far the business can go, how much money you can make, because it's only 24 hours in your day. But you have 10 people working for you, that's 240 hours. You can do more. So I want people to get out of the idea of trust no one. It's not useful. It is not productive. And that is stressful. There are people who are worth trusting. It might take you some time to figure out who those people are. But when you do, let them do the work. Trust them with you. And then if for some reason they mess up, then you know, okay, lesson learned. But that doesn't mean you trust no one. It means, okay, I just need to be a little bit more discerning next time. Or maybe that person is just going through it, but that should not stop you from now trusting people.
Right. Right. Nice. And then with that being said, there's a chapter where you talk about failing loudly, right? And you mentioned basically facing your mountains, like climbing that mountain. What are some of the mountains you had to climb in your career?
I think with visibility comes more things, more responsibility, more people listening to you, more people knowing your name comes with more disagreeing. But I think that's why it's really always important for me to know who I am and own it, because no matter who doesn't like me, I can't change myself because other people don't like me. So these things are all interconnected. Our ability to fail, our ability to be true, even when somebody else does not agree with what we're saying, they're all deeply connected in this sense of self, where you're almost unshakable in that you might get knocked off your pedestal, you might fail, but it doesn't mean you are not worthy. It doesn't mean you're not valuable. And yeah, especially for Black women, there's so many messages we get that could definitely convince us that we're not worthy or valuable. So then we don't take any risks. And then with no risk, you don't get major rewards. So we end up being stagnant. We end up not applying for jobs we want. We end up not marrying the person we want to marry because we're afraid all the time. So then we're not getting rewarded the way we should. So I think for us, it's especially important that we cannot take on and absorb everything the world is saying about us. We basically have to create like an invisible armor where we say that stops there. It's not going to hit me. And I'm fine just the way I am.
Wonderful. My favorite quote in your book was, your voice may tremble, but say it anyway.
Yes.
I struggled with that a little bit, although my favorite quote, because it's something that is so spot on. But as Black women, like I could even say, like in my career, I can have a parallel white person, man or woman, can do the same or say the same thing that I say, right? But if I say it, it's, you're either combative or you're hostile or whatever, anything negative, right? So how do you encourage one to say something? Because I would get nervous. I wouldn't say anything because I don't want to be perceived as the angry Black woman or whatever. So how do you encourage somebody to speak up knowing that they're scared? Like, what are some of the tools that you would impart upon them?
Well, it's the idea that no matter how thoughtful you say something, somebody might still be offended by it. But just do your own risk mitigation to try to be on the right side of history, on your end. And I think that's why I recommend the 3 questions. When you want to say something that feels tough, that you're like not sure how it's going to land, asking yourself, do I mean it? Can I defend it? Can I say it thoughtfully? And if the answer is yes to all 3, saying it. I say that because none of this will guarantee that somebody will receive it in the way you intend. None of it will guarantee that somebody will say, oh, wow, that's a great point. But the only person that you owe something to is you, in that when you are in a room, I think you need to be feeling obligated about elevating what's happening. And in those times when it's tough and you want to speak up, oftentimes you'll leave the room if you don't say something and you'll be thinking about it the whole day. You're like, I should have said that. Yes, because you not saying it has now stuck with you. So I do think we should take it upon ourselves to say it, know what the consequences are. If you are really nervous and you're like, oh gosh, I might lose my job. If it's a place where you saying and challenging something thoughtfully means you'll get fired, your days are probably already numbered, right? That's 1. And then 2, is it actually going to be you losing your job? I think we will sometimes ascribe these giant consequences that don't come to every situation. Some situations, yes, sure, we might get fired for saying something, but a lot of others, we won't get fired. We won't even get a ding on it. We just don't want to not be liked, or we don't want to shake up the room. And I think it's just sometimes the ends justifies the means.
Nice. Again, such great words of wisdom. I appreciate you sharing that. Have you ever thought about what your life would be like had you retaken your chemistry course or not gotten that D?
I have thought about it. I'm like, I don't even, oh God. Me having to wake up every day to go work at a hospital. For me, I would be like, oh God. I don't even want to get out of bed. I don't like hospitals. They make me nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I can't even imagine what the day by day would be like. You know, my life would be so different. That's why like the domino effect, it would drop me in a rabbit hole. I'd be like, would I still be living in Chicago? Like, yeah, I don't know. Life would be so different.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think we have questions. Do we have questions in the chat? Let me just check here. I'm sorry.
There are a few.
Oh, okay. So we have a question from Kelly Walker Edwards. She's asking, what platform will you use on how to publish your course?
Me and my team are figuring that out. We are trying to figure that out now. We want to make sure that it can support the needs of the course, the content that we want to show, and make sure people can walk away with actionable takeaways. So we're going to be playing with different platforms to know exactly the right one.
Okay. Daphne Williams asks, did anything get edited out of Professional Troublemaker? If so, what and why?
I turned in 83,000 words. The book is 77,000. So yes, stuff got edited out. I don't remember what. Because editing a book, so the first draft that I turn in is usually pretty good. Where a lot of times books, you know, editors might come back and say like, I need you to rewrite 3 whole chapters. Mine are typically like smaller edits. So we tighten it up. We make sure that no words are wasted. We do research to make sure everything in it is accurate. There's a whole team that actually makes sure that every point that I make, or if I state a fact, that it actually has been cited in a way. So yeah, there were no chapters that were deleted out the book that I wrote for the first draft. And actually the order of the book that you see now is the order that it was in draft 1. Even chapter titles relatively stayed the same. So yeah.
You're often quoted as not quoted, but described as being witty. I just say plain old funny. And you do roll in a lot of spaces with other people who are actual, you know, comedians and writers as well. Have you considered, or will you consider, being like a writer for a comedic show, like a Saturday Night Live, or maybe Yvonne's next
show? I've considered it. I've considered it. TV writing has been in my periphery for a while, and I would do it if it was the right thing. I probably would still have to be a part of a Zoom writing room. I don't want to be in a writing room with 30 people for 40 days. I'm like, can y'all just tap me in from Zoom? And I've actually done punching up before. I'd love to do more of that too. So yeah, you never know. Like I think it'd be really cool to see my name in the credits of your favorite TV show.
I think so too. I think you are hilarious. The things like I was reading your book, and then just every now and then you would say something. I'm like, wait, what?
It's a sneak attack. It's a sneak attack.
Like one of my favorite words you used was unfuckwithable. And I was like,
unfuckwithable is one of my favorite words, period.
That was like, well, no, not period, full stop.
Full stop. Yes. Not your style. Yes, indeed. Yes.
But now tapping into your Niger roots a little bit, do you listen to Afrobeats? Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I have a whole Afrobeats playlist on Spotify that's lit. It's 21 hours long.
Yeah.
That playlist is everything. So Afrobeats is, besides 90s R&B, Afrobeats is my favorite genre of music.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Yep.
All right. So you often are also, you quote that you are somebody who basically say things that people are thinking. Now, is that something that was just part of who you are, like, or is it that you just Like you just developed that type of skill over time. Like what and how has that worked out for you, and especially at home when you were growing up?
I think I've always been that. Like, if I feel like saying something, I usually will say it. You know, I will, because I don't want to be like, dang, why didn't you say that thing? Yeah, I think I've been that girl. Like since I was little, if I would challenge authority. I would say I don't like something. I would say something's not fair. Yeah, I just been that. I never stopped being that person.
Right.
And I think that carried me along, especially in these moments.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think that, being that person, I think we all need that person in the room, right? We all need that one to like just say what we're thinking. And because you usually get a tap on the shoulder like, yo, I'm glad you said that. I don't know if I could have said it the same way.
Right.
I usually get that same tap on the shoulder because I was always the one in school or whatever to be like, no, don't like that. Sorry, I think that's wrong, or I need you to justify that, or whatever, And I got in a lot of trouble for talking a lot as well. But hey,
and I think, and I think more people should speak up in that way. Here's the thing: is like the person who is loudest in the room is not necessarily the person whose voice is most important. Actually, their voice is not more important than yours. Yours is too. And I want people to understand that. Like, and so that's why sometimes there will be rooms where I actually will step back and I don't say much because I'll give somebody else a chance to say something. Like I'll give somebody else a chance to take up space. So, because I want people to understand that like their voice is also deeply important.
Yeah, no, that's truly important for sure. I think that that's one of the things that a lot of people in society screw. Like they need to be more mindful of, myself included, is knowing how much space to take up in the room, but also allowing for others to talk. And I think that that's something that I definitely struggled with, and I had to learn very quickly recently. Like, all right, you need to there are people, not just you. You need to the show isn't always about you right now. You need to step up and let someone else talk. So that's amazing. Well, again, thank you so much, Luvvie, for this book, for the work you do, the TED Talks, everything. I think that you are what the world needed, for sure. And this book specifically, I think, is something that should be gifted to everyone. It's literally for everybody.
Yes, like I want people to buy this book for anybody who needs to be loaned courage, whether it is their friend who's changing jobs or their daughter who's finishing college, or just anybody who has been told that they're too much. And I wrote this book hoping that people felt like they saw themselves in it, or like they walk away feeling way more powerful and saying, okay, that's kind of what I want to do. And this gave me the tools. So I'm excited for more and more people to read it. And I get messages every day now of people who are just like, I'm reading this book and here's what it made me do. And yesterday I got a message from somebody who said they applied for their dream job. Then they got the offer and they were afraid to negotiate. And they listened to my chapter on Get Your Money. And they asked for a fee that they were so afraid to ask for. And 24 hours later, the company said, yes to all their demands.
Wow.
And she was like, it's because I read your book, and your book kept on being in my ear, being like, do it, ask for it. And that for me is one of the best case scenarios that people can tell me has happened because of reading my book.
Well, I have testimony about that too, because I've been reading the book for the last few weeks, and I was motivated to ask for more at work, for sure. To the point where I was invited to a slew of client dinners this past week. Every night I've been out and just been amongst other executives, and just, finally being in the room, not just because I work in finance. And so usually I'm just back office person running the numbers, right? But I was actually in the room in those spaces and nervous as all hell, because I hadn't done it in a while. But your book definitely helped me out. So Definitely kudos to you for that. It's true. Like your podcast, you say, you know, people have gotten their offers, they've gotten everything that they wanted, they've gotten the job. And I was like, that's a bit audacious for sure, but it works. It's not the typical self-help book or anything like that. It's more about, you, like you said, you're a guide. It's a guide, and you write it and read it on Audible in such a way that you're literally just talking to a person. Like, you're that friend that I could call and be like, yo, thinking about doing this, but I don't have your number. So I can just go to the book and be like, so what chapter did she say that this again? And I can listen to it and go, got it. And then go off and do what I have to do. So
I love that. That's it. That's it. Yes.
You did it. So I love.
That's so good. That's so good.
I have to give it to you. I was dying. I was like, look, if anything else, I gotta let you know that this right here, I've already ordered this book for a few friends who are going through things. A couple of my friends who are moms who are just starting to get back into the workforce. I mean, it's a great book. It's a great book.
See, that brings me so much joy, and I'm actually really thankful to Go On Girl Club, because y'all supported I'm Judging You when it first came out.
Yes.
You know, these types of organizations, these types of book clubs are really important, especially for Black authors who we are always climbing uphill, you know, for any position, any industry we're in. So I deeply appreciate the presence of Go On Girl, the fact that y'all really make space and center our words, and that cannot be underestimated. So yeah, no, thank you.
Are you going to be at any, do you have any upcoming engagements? I know you have the Be Expensive message. Are you going to be speaking at that, or?
No. I'm just currently have my head down on planning. I don't have too many in-person engagements. I think I have so far this year 4 in-person speaking engagements. There's still few and far in between. But yeah, if y'all follow me on Instagram, you'll find out what I'm up to. You'll know when I announce the book publishing course, and actually join my newsletter. My newsletter people find out stuff first. But yeah, I'll be around.
Well, we appreciate you. We will continue to support you, Luvvie. Again, guys, please follow her on all her social channels. I believe it's in the chat. I follow her. I need her. I literally listen to this. I listen to the podcast if you don't have time for the book, because she has a great speakers on there, such as both St. John, such as who else did you have the other day? Oh my God, you had so many.
Sarah Jakes Roberts was my latest episode.
Sarah, yes. Oh my God, that message was great. You just speak with amazing people. You have such a great audience, but you just really know how to connect with everyone, right? Like, there's no pretentiousness to it. You're everyone's homegirl who snatches edges when needed, okay? But supports you, when you need it. You give the kick in the pants, you snatch the edges, and you also do it with a good hug and a good, so yes.
Yes, you get me.
I do.
I'm looking forward to more. And honestly, Go On Girl Club is actually the only club I've been on, book club I've said yes to, because it can get overwhelming in these moments. And I was like, you know what? The importance of this club cannot be underestimated. And I just wanted to make sure that you all understand that you are important. You're doing amazing work. And each one of these is helping change publishing and really showing them that Black authors have room, and they have support, and they have people who are buying their books. And that is so important. So yeah, keep doing these things. This is so dope.
Well, we receive it, and thank you. That means, I know I could speak on behalf of my sisters at GOG, that means a lot to us. Again, thank you. I could keep thanking you all day. It's just
y'all are dope, and yeah, stay connected.
Oh, for sure. I will hit you up in your DM. I'm going to send you another message, but yes, get Professional Troublemaker, the Fear Fighter Manual, everyone. Gift it to your daughters, your sons, your graduates, your those who are transitioning in careers. Hell, get it for grandma, and she's retired. It's fine. It's fine. It's
Because your
everyone
grandma
needs-
is a professional troublemaker. So she's
Yes.
gonna be like, yes, that's me.
Yes. So
I'm with it.
get it.
Well, have an amazing day.
Thank you. I already have. Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And also, everybody, please don't forget that we have a next Conversations with GOG this Saturday with Salami Shatila to discuss her latest book. Excuse me, I'm going a blank right now. In Search of the Color Purple. So please look out on our social media channels for the link to register. Thank you all for joining.